What's up, everybody? It's Chad from Ask Chad Grassy Logic here on episode, I think it's 8. I forgot to change it right here. The title of this is going to be 313 to Empire Cannabis, and Are You a Ghost? Today I have my friend Devin sitting here with me. He's actually from Empire Cannabis here in Las Cruces.
What's up, everybody?
He's going to be telling you guys a little bit about Empire Cannabis. We're going to have some good conversations. He's also going to give you some of his perspectives and everything, maybe not just from working here. He's been in the industry for a long time, but I'm not going to tell you everything about him. I'm going to allow him to tell you about himself. So go ahead, tell who you are and who Empire Cannabis is.
How's it going, guys? So my name is Devin Lowther. I'm the general manager at Empire Cannabis. We're a retail location located at 590 South Telshore, or 590 South Solano, sorry. We're right across the street from Carl's Jr. And right next to C Senor Express. So if you guys are getting some food right there, then you can stop by and see us. We provide a lot of different producers of flower, a lot of different manufacturers. So yeah, we are always looking for good cannabis and cannabis products to sell and educate Las Cruces on.
Nice, yeah. And that's one component that I really always touch on, and I always tell people is education. We need a lot of education when it comes to cannabis, and nationally, most likely internationally. But nationally, we definitely need more education when it comes to the cannabis front. There's so much misconceptions, there's so many lies. The reefer madness stuff is still lingering around. But with education and with us fighting it, it'll die eventually.
Yeah.
Or it'll go away. I guess you can't say die these days. Get you canceled. But yeah, so thanks. I appreciate you being on with me and everything. So tell me a little about Empire Cannabis. Like, who are you guys? Where'd it come from and everything, the idea?
So Empire Cannabis, it came from the owner. He has a few smoke shops in El Paso, and they wanted to get their foot into the cannabis industry. They interviewed for bud tenders, and I interviewed with them, and then they were like, maybe we can put this together. And I, got a few other experienced bud tenders with us, and we kind of put together a really good team. And now we're doing good, having fun, providing good medicine.
Nice.
We got some good stuff in. Shouts out to Matchbox Farms. Shouts out to Animus Cannabis. A lot of really good producers, those guys, and like the manufacturers. GH Labs kills it. Assurance Labs. A lot of these people really do a good job of taking care of the small guys like us. Like, we're a really small shop, and we'll always order in bulk. But it's always nice whenever we get taken care of, just like the big guys, you know what I mean? So, and then we also we're a small spot, so we try and support as local as possible. So
nice, yeah. It's always good to hear, supporting local. And when we say local, guys, cannabis does have to be grown in New Mexico and sold in New Mexico, but there is a lot of MSOs or multi-state operators in the state. So that's what they mean when they say local, is you're buying it from someone who is locally owned. They're not from Colorado, Minnesota, Michigan, any of that, or running it from those states, and having different dispensaries in different states. So, I mean, we knew that was going to happen. That was something that, was predicted, and we knew it was going to happen. It happened right away. I think we're even getting cookies, right, up in Albuquerque?
I've heard cookies is coming to New Mexico, but I'm not sure on any location.
Yeah, I don't know the location, but I think I read it in an article a while back, like it's official.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure where or what. But I do know one of their shops did close. I think it was in California or Oklahoma. And yeah, so that's not good, but more on that later. Anyway, let's get back to the Empire Cannabis. We got a little off track. So how many cultivars do you guys really have of flower over there?
Right now we have about 5 or 6 different producers. A few up in Albuquerque, a few down here. And then, whether that be pre-roll material that we make or the loose flower that we provide deli style.
Yeah, nice. And you guys have the Canagars you were telling me the other day and everything.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, so we do have our manufacturing level 1, so we do make all our own pre-rolls in house, and then we'll provide wholesale to people as well if they need pre-rolls, other retailers, and then we make these cannagars. Right now we're doing 2-gram cannagars. They're just flour because we're just manufacturing level 1.
Yeah.
But you keep it in a mold for a certain amount of time, and we keep it's a wood skewer that we keep in the center, and once you purchase the product and you're ready to smoke it, you pull that skewer out of the canagar, and there's that hole for that breathability, and it creates like a nice even smoke. But you have that denseness from the mold, to where it smokes like a cigar.
Yeah.
So those are pretty nice. People have been liking those. We've been rolling and packing those up. So that's been a lot of fun, and being able to provide that from those different producers has been a lot of fun too.
Oh, I bet. And rolling is an art on its own. And so when you get into an aspect like, you're doing cannagars and stuff like that, and once you start getting more advanced and it becomes a real art, and you're just like, laying it out in a perfect way. Then once it's rolled and you got it wrapped, I see all the guys, doing it.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of really good guys out there. Shouts out to Cozy Boy, Headspace Alchemy. They're doing the hash holes.
Nice.
And they're doing infused blunts. Those guys are really killing it out there. And then I know Devil Rolls up in Albuquerque is getting started up with Alabastra. So a lot of those specialty joints are hitting the market, and they're doing really well because people love like tasting that hash with your flower. It's a real treat, for sure.
Oh, definitely. I've smoked a few in my time, and definitely. And I'm glad that the industry and community is really, accepting it with open arms. Instead of going, straight blunt wrap, because it's terrible for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm glad that we don't focus on, like, the industry, it seems, is not as open to tobacco. Me personally, I don't smoke as much. I don't really enjoy tobacco myself.
Yeah.
I enjoy cannabis more. And we sell hemp wraps and stuff like that. But I'm a paper guy. I like just to roll a good joint. If you got good flower, then you can just smoke a good joint too.
And a real quick, fact, guys, if you don't know, blunts were really used back in the day when we were smoking Reggie and brickweed and stuff like that, when it tasted really bad and it just wasn't good weed, and the blunt really helped it taste better. These days with cannabis and, and especially with the push of, terpenes and higher percentage of terpenes, there's really no reason to use tobacco, products within your cannabis anymore. And, when people talk about spliffs, when they, roll the joints and they mix a little tobacco in it, they mostly do that in Europe. And there's a reason why they do it. It's not because they like it. It's because cannabis is so expensive over there that it makes it go longer. And that's what I've been told from people over there. It's not something I've assumed. This is actually what I've been told. And it's probably just one of several reasons. But let's get back to, Empire Cannabis and everything. I mean, we could talk about all this other stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But do you guys have any like events planned or anything like that, or anything going on?
So we're getting ready for 420. We're preparing for a few sales, a few flower sales, and some edible and drink sales too. So you'll have to check those out. And then we're also looking to provide some food that day.
Okay.
So whether that be some burgers or hot dogs cooked out on the grill, or
You
some
gonna be
pizzas. I don't know if I'll be grilling or if we'll get somebody else out on the grill, but we'll see what happens. If I need to go out there, we'll make it happen.
Nice. All right, maybe I'll swing by. 420 seems like it's gonna be a really busy day.
420, there's gonna be so much happening. I know Queen Bee's next door is gonna put on a big. They always do it big, you know what I mean?
Yeah, big
so
event or something.
We'll try and tag in with those guys and just be a part of the community as much as we can. We're a new spot. We just opened up in October.
Okay.
And we're just working on getting our name out there, and gaining that customer base, and also getting a little bit of recognition in the industry as well.
And you know what? I actually picked up some cannabis the first time I went, and you weren't there that day. I decided to pick up, see what you guys had, and even the $10 cultivars you guys had was very tasty, and I was quite impressed. Even and then I got the higher dollar one, and that was still pretty good. So it's great to see that the product is coming around in New Mexico because at first it was pretty much Oklahoma trash everywhere, and that's what we were pretty much running into. But now we're really seeing the New Mexico producers kick in and kind of start putting out, and we're really seeing what New Mexico is capable of. So I'm glad that you guys are highlighting that inside of the shop. And I really love the shop too. You guys have that smoke shop feel kind of when you come in. You got the the glass and everything, because some people, they come out of town, and so they didn't bring anything with them, or they flew in from some illegal state and they couldn't take it with them. So that's great that you guys provide that. Like you said, you have the hemp wraps, and that's great. What are you guys' hours?
We're open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
Every single day.
Nice.
Yeah, touching on what you were saying, we're lucky to have smoke shops linked to us in El Paso, so they can they're really educated on the cool different things that are coming out, the new ooze bucket and all these things like that. So we're able to have even the new Puffcos. We're able to provide the same price as the Puffco website.
Oh, there you go.
So we have the colored heating dad pens, and we have the different colorways of the new Puffcos. So it's been pretty fun. And we also just got in the Carta 2. I had to purchase one myself.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't checked out the Carta 2, it's an excellent dabbing device. So we have fun with the smoking accessories at our shop too.
That is a good point that you bring up. Having that connection to the smoke shops and the inventory of that. You guys have pretty much the latest of the latest when it comes to smoking accessories, and that's a huge perk. So if you guys want that along with your cannabis, go ahead and hit them up. And I mean, the fact that you guys have these vaporizers for the price, is ridiculous because they're expensive as shit.
Oh yeah, man. Well, it's hard. I know that some other places have to purchase a certain amount of Puffcos to get even one of the Puffco proxies or things like that of that nature. So by them having a lot of smoke shops in El Paso, if we buy a good amount of Puffcos, then it's not going to hurt us as much. And then we can provide those smoking accessories in our dispensary.
Nice. Yeah. Because Puffcos, they're pretty much the raw when it comes to the, vaporizer accessories.
Yeah.
But, I've tried the Cartas and they're really good. I enjoy the Carta.
Yeah.
It's, some people say it's the Wish version of the smoking accessories, but it's really good. And it's a good product.
Yeah.
It may look a little janky, but, I don't mind it. It works.
Yeah, no, they work really well. I've tried a few different ones. The new Dr. Dabber that just came out is awesome too.
There you go.
So there's a few different ones to check out, definitely, that'll vaporize your hash very well.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
And in New Mexico, we've actually gotten some props when it comes to our hash. And it makes sense because there's some really good hash when it comes to, even here in Las Cruces.
Oh yeah.
I've had some really great hash from some producers, some underground guys. Just it's really good in the area, and I'm really proud to say that New Mexico has some really good hash.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Alter Ego Cultivation just linked up with Cruces Craft Cannabis, local manufacturing spot here in Cruces, that they've done excellent stuff. You know what I mean? So and then even up in Albuquerque, there's a lot of really good hash makers, Alabastra, and then shouts out to the guys out at Z Labs. We carry a few different of their rosins, and then of course Oleo. The Oleo and Flora Melts. Sandia Botanicals brought that from down from Colorado, but it's really good product too. You know what I mean? So, but shouts out to the local guys like Z Labs and Cruces Craft Cannabis and Alabastra and those guys. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we move on to the, past the Empire Cannabis and who you guys are and everything, what's your favorite cultivar that you guys have in the shop right
now? I would say right now in flower, we have a lot of good strains from Matchbox Farms. And then just like overall, Animus Cannabis has been doing a really good job on like just not just their flower production, but also their bubble hash and their hash rosins. They do a good job on providing good product.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys, are in the area, you live in Cruces, or you're going to be here, go ahead and check out Empire Cannabis, see what they got. Maybe they'll have a smoking accessory you want. Maybe you want that Carta.
Yeah.
Over the Puffco, or maybe you want the Puffco because you get the same price as you do on the internet.
Yeah.
You pay the taxes and not the shipping. So there's the perk. You guys don't have to pay the shipping. So I really appreciate you coming in. Thank you for talking about Empire Cannabis. Is there anything you want to say before we move on to the next topic?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Make sure to stop in and say hi to the guys over there. We have a lot of fun. So
nice. Yeah.
And it's a fun shop. It's a really cool shop that we have.
Yeah, it is. I've been in there, and it is a really cool shop. Little, for the size of it, especially. So
yeah,
I love your guys' little sticker mural on the front. That's pretty cool.
Yes,
I gotta take an Ask Chad Grassy Logic sticker.
I almost forgot to say, like, if you guys have any sticker slaps, we have a little sticker wall in the front. So please bring your stickers by, even if it's another dispensary. Come by, bring your sticker. We'll show it off. We'll show it off.
And that's the way it is, guys. Let's work together. You're better together. So there's no reason that there's competition, but at the end of the day, we're better off when we work together, and this industry is better off when we work together. So let's move on. Speaking of that, HB 313 passed the House last night, 42-20. That sounds like a regular football score or something, but it was 42 votes yes to 20 no. There's a few absent, of course those others, but it passed pretty well. So far, this bill, it's 313, is pretty much what's going to change, a lot of the laws and regulations in our cannabis and some of the medical cannabis side too. It's been amended 4 times so far, which is not bad. A lot of bills and most bills do get amended through the whole process way. They don't, I would say never. I don't know from my experience. I've never seen a bill stay exactly the same way throughout the whole process and then all the way to the governor's desk. It's very rare. There's usually amendments, mistakes, or suggestions along the way. And there was 2 amendments last night that were put into this bill, and I'll talk about one of them in a second. But it's about packaging and into children, talking about children and everything like that. And to me, it's just more clarifying, but we'll talk about it more. One thing that kind of stuck out to me when they were talking about, because I actually watched the legislative, the House hearing and everything, and shout out to Jeffrey Castillo for sending that to me, and hit me up, letting me know that was on. He even told me what time they were talking about it because I was a little late. So I got to watch it, and the part of the bill in 313 that allows RLD to have more power essentially actually gives them a lot more power than I thought before. So they're going to have essentially, I don't know if they have subpoena power. I didn't see that in the bill, but they're going to be able to get evidence, pretty much tell you, you're going to have to give us evidence, this and that. They're going to be able to do searches. They're even going to be able to, work with LEO and, really penalize people. And then from what my understanding was, from what I heard, is that they're working with LEO to kind of get their inspectors, because they said they have 15 inspectors,
right?
And they're working in tandem with LEO so they can get them to that part. Now, I don't know if that means they want them to be law enforcement trained, or they're just working closely with law enforcement. I rewinded a couple times, and I listened to her, and I still kind of was a little confused what she meant. They're lawmakers and lawyers, so that might be the reason why. But I mean, what's your kind of thought process on that? I mean, RLD should be able to have some oversight, significant, but now it kind of seems that they have even more oversight than I thought.
Yeah. So we did have a guy from the RLD, the CCD, Cannabis Control Division, come through and, checked to make sure that we had certain things. There were a few things that we didn't have before, like our visitor login, that we did need to make sure that we started having people sign up and have a visitor's badge if they went to the back to show product, to do maintenance, to do certain things like that. There was also certain things like a recall plan. So there needs to be a recall plan of action for if they ever find that there's a product that is, not good to be sold to the general public. then that there needs to be a plan of action for every dispensary for that. Luckily, like you were saying in previous podcasts, they are doing like a grace period right now for a lot of our the dispensaries, which is nice because the laws are kind of they're written, the verbiage is kind of weird. It's hard to understand everything, and there's also a lot of different laws. So, in making sure that we're doing everything by the book, it's nice that they can come in and be like, "Hey, you forgot a few things." So we fixed that. We sent that in to them. They said, as long as you send that in to us in a few days, you'll be good. And so we got that covered. And so it's nice that they're giving us a chance to do that. But I also think that it is good that they have a little bit of power on their end to really make sure that these dispensaries are held accountable, that they're selling good product.
Yeah. Now, you've been in the industry for how long now? Like quite a bit.
Well, I've been
right?
in the industry since about 2018.
Okay.
I started with Sacred Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember you there. I got to meet you and Kwame there.
Yeah.
Soul. I got to meet him there. Both you guys, and throughout the years, you guys have been cool cats, and I've liked seeing you guys come up and everything in the industry, and it's been great. So you have a lot of experience. You were around before we even changed the medical cannabis program to a better program, and then later on legalized it. So what are some things that you've probably seen, I guess, change on the regulatory side? I mean, does the CCD kind of check a little bit more than the DOH did when it comes to the dispensaries?
Well, I guess in terms of like their presence in Las Cruces, I haven't really seen it as much as you would expect. But that to be said, they do see. It's nice that with how many dispensaries there are, they were able to stop by our dispensary already. And we've only opened in October, so we've been open 150 days or so.
Yeah.
So for them to come in and make sure that stuff is generally that we're running stuff and we're not selling bad product, everything is linked to our BioTrack system. I think that that's good because it gives me peace of mind whenever I go out of Las Cruces and I go into Ruidoso or Albuquerque or out of town, and I can get good product because I know that the CCD has checked that place.
Yeah. So I mean, it's good to see that and hear that
pros and cons.
Yeah, pros and cons there, to everything. But it's good to hear that they're a little more on it than the DOH was, and I understand the DOH was unmanned like crazy. I mean, they didn't have enough manpower to start with, which makes sense. I mean, the medical program was an interesting time.
Right.
is really what I'd have to say.
I only saw the DOH in the 3.5 years that I was in the medical side. I saw them once whenever I was at Sacred.
Really?
Yeah. So it was, they weren't very present. But on the other hand of that, on the medical side, it was handled very professional. And so that's, I think, what's helped me, my experiences with Sacred Garden and my experiences with our Greenleaf and at Soul, it's kind of helped me figure out how to provide good product and do it in the best way we can possibly.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Yeah, and I'm thank you for giving me your perspective of like your experiences in the cannabis industry and everything.
Sure.
I mean, I love hearing that because I've never been a bud tender. I've been the advocate, everything on this side. I've been on the grow side. I've never worked in a dispensary, but I worked retail. Most of my life I worked retail. I even managed one of the tech shops at the NMSU. I was the manager at the tech shop over there for a bit, and so the retail is retail. Be it selling computers or selling cannabis. It's retail, and you kind of have that same mindset. And so it's great that you have that experience too. Going to the different shops and having the different experiences with the different companies. So you kind of have an idea of what to expect when it comes to it, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, and then there's also just different ways. There's many different ways that we can sell cannabis, right? So there's the prepackaged, or there's still deli style. You do have to have your manufacturing level 1 if you're packaging and repackaging and things like that. But it's really nice that there's many different ways of doing it, and there's right or wrong ways for different dispensaries on how to do things. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it's cool to be able to experience them in different ways.
Yeah, and you know what? It's all personal preference at the end of the day when it comes to deli or prepackaged. If a lot of you don't know, I've explained this before. Deli means that you have a big jar. You tell them how much you want. They take chopsticks or rubber gloves and they weigh it, and put it in a bag for you and give it to you. And then prepackaged is it's sealed and prepackaged, and they don't do anything. They just hand you the bag. So that's what that means. So deli style is essentially like going to Subway and they're just putting everything on the sandwich and giving it to you and handing it. That's the reason why it's called that. There's a big there's a lot of people who don't like it and a lot of people who do. And like I was just saying before, it's just all on to your personal opinion and what you want to do. If that's how you want to do it in your business, by all means, you just have to have your manufacturing license, which personally I don't feel you should have to have it to do that, but there's a way things are and a way things should be.
Yeah. So I mean, with that, we wanted to do deli style, and we took that as, well, if we have our manufacturing level 1, then we can at least still make our own pre-rolls.
Yeah.
And then that way, you're still able to cover more bases, and you're able to provide a product that you're like, hey, we rolled this. It's cool whenever the bud tenders get to say that they rolled it, and customers really like that personability too sometimes.
So do you guys sell a lot of pre-rolls? I hear a lot of places, like they sell a crap ton of pre-rolls.
Yeah, so we have our our half gram, our full gram, then we have our 6-pack, and then we have our Canagars. We also provide the hash holes from Headspace Alchemy and Z Labs, and then also the infused blunts from Headspace.
Oh, nice. I know we got off topic and back to you guys, but I just wanted to ask that question because
Yeah,
who knows? Like
that we do a lot of pre-rolls. People like the convenience, you know what I mean, and it's nice to be able to just have it ready to smoke them. So
yeah, it is. And when you're done, most of them are made out of hemp and natural paper. You just throw it under a rock or bury it and it decomposes. It turns into compost. So anyway, we'll get back to 313. We got off on a huge tangent. There was just a lot of conversation. I really wanted to hear his take, with his experience within the cannabis industry, because I've never heard it before. I've just only known from him and I, talking to each other when I get into the shop. So it was my first time actually hearing that. So let's get back to HB 313. It looked like the 2,000 plants thing is going to stay. And one of the legislators did have a question, but he just questioned it. She answered it, and that was about it. I think he just wanted clarification. And what it is they get 1/10 of what the big producers get. And the big producers get 20,000 plants at the max. And so micro producers will get 1/10 of that, which adds up to about 2,000. And talking to Jeffrey yesterday, come to find out that actually the idea of that, and the reason, and he's thinking, and kind of me too, we weren't told this, but after my show, he was like, that's a great idea. He made a post, and I guess a couple other guys, came up with the formula to, make it do 1/10 of what they get, which comes out to 2,000. And then he, I guess, wrote his representative, which I've told you guys to do several times, and it got put into the bill. So just like that, out of 2 people, that got changed. So like I said, guys, all it takes is 2 people for it to become constituents. And so we got 2,000 plants because 2 people said something, and it just happened to be me and someone else, So that's just a prime example of how quickly and how well this system can work if we do it right and we speak up. So the 2,000 plants, I think that's great for the micro producers. It makes them a little more competitive. I mean, it's nowhere close to the 20,000 that the big guys get. Like, let's be honest, they're not going to catch up to it, but they're a little more competitive in the industry in general. They can put out more plants, they can put out more cultivars, different ones, and they can, experiment a little bit, with stuff. So it's going to be great to see what they can do if this bill passes. We only have like 9 days left in legislature till the end of it. This just passed the House. It has the whole ass Senate to go through. That means all of the Senate committees and then finally the Senate floor. As long as it passes all of that, the governor has time to sign it. After everything ends, she has time to sign it. So as long as we're good before the end of it, we won't have to go in a special session or anything. And I don't think they need to go in a special session. I kind of feel that it'll get through. I mean, what is your thoughts on the 2,000 plants?
I think it gives them a little bit more competition. I think it's good. If they're a really good grower and they have that, gives them a little bit more competition. And then if they're able to save a little bit more money and get, a bigger license, more licenses, then so be it. You know what I mean? And then better growers, the more we have better growers, the more better cannabis we have, and then that provides for the opportunity for better education, and just a good circle.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And you know, that the guy that's grown in the closet that maybe been growing for years and just doesn't have all the funds and wants to start in a micro,
Right.
this is a great start for him.
Yeah.
And he can go up. I mean, I think one of the other amendments they were talking about pretty much the process of going from micro to a integrated producer. And so that was one of the things is, you know, it's like a starting point. You know, some people may stay there, you know, and be happy there.
Yeah.
But you know, the point of it is a starting point to move up. And I like it because a really good producer, the 2000 plants, well, if he's killing it, he's kicking ass, he has really great cannabis, 3% terps, and then he decides to go and get an integrated license to start growing 20,000 of them plants. Now, keep in mind, it's a big difference when you go from 2,000 plants to 20,000 plants. So it
maybe
could be a little
whole
bit of a
different location.
Yeah, different location. They're going to be upgraded. So it's just great that that person has that opportunity to say, okay, now I am ready for 20,000 plants and I'm ready to provide New Mexico with as much cannabis as they need of mine because it's good. And that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the system working. And then this is just something to help them along the way. So keep in mind, guys, again, this is just going through legislature. Nothing has been signed. Nothing has been passed yet. It just passed the House. And when I say passed, I mean like passed all of legislature. It did pass the House, which is good. It just has that last thing. One thing I want you guys to keep in mind, and a lot of people actually don't know, and I didn't know this till it actually happened. If the governor vetoes a bill and they don't put a reasoning why they vetoed the bill, that bill becomes law automatically. And that happened when, when Martinez was in office. She didn't give a reasoning for a couple of bills that she vetoed, and one of them happened to be the internet expansion bill for New Mexico, and she was going to veto it. Well, she didn't put a reason why, and it became law. So we got better internet because she messed up. And so sometimes that works for us, but keep in mind that she has to put a reason why she's vetoing it. I don't see a reason why she would veto this bill, but if it does mess up, there's still a slim chance that it does become law. It's happened, and it's happened in recent years. So just keep that in mind, and it's a good fact for New Mexicans to know because it's kind of a weird law. You know what I mean? It's not something that you hear everywhere. So just keep that in mind. A little fun fact. One thing I do want to touch on is there was an amendment to this bill. There's a couple of amendments. Like I said, it was amended 4 times so far. They don't have the amended bill up yet, but they had the amendment, and I only got one. It's the amendment number 2. And really what they were doing is just clarifying when it comes to children and packaging. One of the things I guess they want is they want it to be opaque, I guess, the packaging. I couldn't really find the line that they were talking about. I may have been looking at the wrong version of the bill. They want it to be opaque, pretty much see-through. And then they want, they don't want, this is kind of funny because of what's in here. So I'm just going to read it verbatim what it says. Insert and shall not mimic the brand, design, name, logo, or colorway of a non-cannabis consumer product that has been traditionally marketed to children. So Legos, like if you make a gummy and it looks like a Lego brick, you can't do that. Packages and labels shall not use cartoons or symbols or images, including images of celebrities, celebrity likeness that are commonly used to market to minors. So don't use the guy from Blue's Clues to sell your shit. That's pretty much what that means. And then also one thing I like to always think about, and it's funny, is the Mike Tyson ears, the little gummies.
Right.
You can't do that, guys. Like I said, there's probably going to be a bunch of dicks, and I'm going to stick to that. We'll see what happens. I don't know. This is going to change a lot of things. People are probably just going to get lazy and just go straight to squares, which I don't mind. A gummy's a gummy. Doesn't really matter the shape. It still gets you fucked up.
Yeah, I think with the molds, I've mostly seen like the squares.
Yeah.
For the gummies and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and it's simple.
I care more about the flavor of the gummy
versus the shape
and the effectiveness.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've seen mostly squares too. Maybe we'll see circles now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is really just clarifying, just to make sure that people are gonna follow the law and not try to do something that adheres to children, or children are gonna mistaken as a child product of regular gummies and they get too high. So it's a real issue. But as I said before in prior episodes, one of the ways that we can curb this issue is parenting. If you guys parent and know what's going on with the kids, or you lock your cannabis away, a lot of these issues will cease to But until then, we have the safety warnings and the warning signs. So with that being said, that is it for 313. We're actually going to move on to one of the other topics. And this is something that I've kind of seen in the industry for a long time. And, you know, we were talking before, you know, the show and everything, and you're kind of giving me examples of what, you know, you've experienced, kind of what you've done. And I'll give you an opportunity to let people know.
Yeah.
But ghosting in the industry, this isn't Tinder. So what I mean by ghosting in the industry, it's not, I sent an email and, you know, I'm asking, you know, this company if they're interested in some product and they never get back to me. What I mean is you're in contacts with another company, another business, two businesses talking, you know, the guy's trying to sell you something and, you know, you're really hesitant to tell him no. And you kind of lead them on, you know, like for months, you know, say like 6 months, you're like, oh, let me get back to you later. You know, I mean, let me think about it. Let me think about it. Yeah, yeah. Or you call him, you know, one day and kind of mislead him, making you think, you know, whatever, you know, and you're looking for something else. Just be upfront with people, you know, if
Transparent.
yeah, just be very transparent. You know, this is business, you know, and they'll understand. Whenever you're going in that situation, in your mind, you're thinking that they're going to say no to start with. So you're thinking of things of ways to say yeah, for them to say yes. So that's why when people make a pitch and like it's like the first sentence and the person says yes, they get shocked because they weren't expecting the person to say yes. They're thinking of, okay, they're probably gonna say no to this, so I'm gonna give them this reason, and then this reason, this reason. So that's why it's so funny when people go, oh yeah, I'll do it, and they're just like dumbfounded because, you know, you're not ready for that. So just let people know they're ready for the no, and it's a professional thing, you know, and it's just a personal thing too, you know, in your personal relationships, you have to deal with these people regardless. So that's what I mean when it comes to ghosting. You know, you're in contact with another business, and then you just decide to cease contact or lead them on to make them think that you will do business in some future. Just don't waste anybody's time. You don't want your time wasted. Don't waste theirs. And I mean, Devin, you had some really good stories and some examples yourself. I mean,
Yeah, I think that it's good to be transparent, like you were saying, and you know, in my experience, I know that it's really hard for whenever somebody comes in and like they're like, hey, you want to buy this weed? Like everybody wants to buy weed. Like so it's hard for me to like as a purchasing manager, if somebody comes in and they're like, hey, you want to buy this? Of course I want to buy this, you know what I mean? But we also have like we're a business, and so like we only have a certain amount of budget to get the products that we have. And so I don't have the world's budget to get all everybody's product. So that's where it is key to be transparent. And sometimes I'll let you know, I've let producers or manufacturers know, hey, contact me in a month or contact me in 2 months, because I don't have that budget ready yet.
Yeah.
But that's another thing is I am one on not wanting to burn bridges, but it's good to be transparent and saying, hey, I can't get this product right now, but in the future, hopefully we'll be in contact soon. And then that way they know, or you can give them a date. Hey, contact me in a month, a month and a half. And then that way I can have a budget ready for you. And then we can start doing business. If not, or say, hey, I don't think that that's a product that is going to sit well on my shelves, just compared to even say, I have a product that is at this price. For those reasons, I can't provide your product.
Yeah.
That always helps.
Yeah. And then, you know, if it's a price point issue and you communicate that with them, they might work with you.
Negotiations.
Yeah. They might negotiate. So you might be missing out on deals that you don't even know about by doing this to people, just by not being honest. You know, if you are interested and it's just not the right price point, let them know, like, you know what, man, I love your product, but this just isn't in my budget for me. And either they're going to say, okay, cool, you know, I tried, you know, I'll go somewhere else. They'll pay me what I want, or they're going to work with you and say, okay, you know, I can work with you. You know, what can you afford? You know, because a lot of people will, you know, they will work with you for the most part. Some people, they're stuck on the price. Don't get me wrong. You know, I've seen a few people stuck on the price, but for the most part, you know, they'll work with you in some aspect. I mean, the industry's so new, and there's so many growers out there trying to get their name out that, you know, a lot of the times they will.
Well, yeah, it's crazy too, because just how the industry changes in pricing too. Growers, manufacturers. Well, compared to
from
like,
April last year? Like, how much has the pound dropped?
oh man, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Probably, it's almost half of what it was. Some in terms of the same quality of bud was probably sold almost twice as much.
Yeah.
Back in April because of the demand and the lack of people. Now there's so much more producers, right? There's
Yeah.
so much more bud available, especially after, I think the main thing that changed the price of bud, or like the expected price of a pound, is October.
Really?
Croctober.
Yep.
It totally changed everything, I think. And
Made
I
that
think that
prediction.
we'll see that next year too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you know what? Josh and I actually made the prediction last year that the price that we saw April of last year will never ever be seen in the state ever again. That price you saw that you guys got and everyone was happy about, the businesses, we're never going to see it again. So, it's great that, some people capitalized, when it was at its peak, but after that peak, it was just going to go down because the supply was going to go up. I mean, in the state, we're going to get more product. And come Croptober, and I knew that was going to happen. After we cropped out, it was going to drop. And like clockwork, it did. And it might be, I don't know, is it somewhere around $2,000 a pound, maybe $1,500 a pound right now?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends if anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000 a pound.
Okay.
Is kind of like around where flour is at right now.
Yeah,
Because
because
it depends on what you're purchasing.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Who it is and all that. Because
Yeah.
I mean, last year, sitting $4,000 or $5,000 a pound sometimes.
Right.
If you're lucky, you'd get 2,500.
Right.
If you're lucky. And so, don't get me wrong, we ran across that a couple times with the company I was working with, and we got really lucky on that aspect. But I kept seeing the $5,000 pounds, like easy,
Right.
like all day, and that's not going to be the case anymore, and that's just because of people getting more. But we're getting off topic of the ghosting. It just kind of goes into it because there's just so much more product now. You guys are going to be approached by more people who are growing and more companies and businesses. So it's best now to have a good practice of communication business wise than to try to figure out later, because this isn't Tinder. It's not the dating scene where you just ghost somebody and you don't hear from them again, and maybe you'll see them at the bar and it's awkward. In the cannabis industry, you're going to see them again, It's just not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so it's better to have a professional way of doing things now than to try to figure it out once you burn bridges. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, you don't want to burn bridges.
No one wants to burn bridges, especially in the cannabis industry. It's such a small industry, especially in New Mexico. We only have 2 million people in our state. And then the cannabis industry is even smaller. So, keep that in mind, guys, when you come here. New Mexico's a total different place. So yeah, just don't waste anybody's time. I really wanted to bring this up because, I've heard it a few times, like people, kind of like, yeah, what's up with people just not telling me they're not interested. And I kind of figured that it'd be a good time to, bring that up. And, if you guys are having a hard time, maybe telling people no, well, this is a good opportunity to understand that they're understanding if you say no. They're actually probably expecting a no. It's just the belly of the beast. There's a way things are and a way things should be. And so I think our industry will be better if we kind of work together and be honest with each other. Just be honest. Say, you know what? Either this product isn't for my shop, the price point isn't there, I can't afford it right now, whatever. Just let them know. But anyway, I'm getting on a little
makes the industry better.
It does, yeah. It makes the industry better and better together. We're all better together. And maybe it's not good for your shop, but maybe somebody who it is. You know what? This isn't for me, or maybe I have too much right now. But my buddy that has a shop downtown over here, he actually needs some right now. So if you go over there right now, he'll take everything you have. So you could have opened up another avenue for that guy. Who knows? Maybe that guy will give you a small percentage of that. Who knows? There's always a business within the business. So guys, that's it for ghosting. Don't do it, because you could be screwing your business over and you could be screwing the industry over. So got anything on that? No? All right. So we're going to move on to the last thing, guys. It's kind of long, but it's for a reason. So Oklahoma voted yesterday, and it was a special election. They actually removed this question from the November election to yesterday. So it had like its own special election. And I think that's one reason of several of why it failed. And so Oklahoma had a ballot question essentially because they can do, and we can't hear, that's why I'm saying this, because it's, you know, so alien to me. They can do like, you know, a ballot question. They can go and petition and get something put on a ballot. You know, it's initiative. We don't have that in New Mexico unless it's a constitutional amendment. And even then, it's still kind of weird or wonky. We don't have the same process that they do. They just pretty much go with the legislator. I think that's the process. We don't have it here, so I'm not too sure. They get it written, they go and get a bunch of signatures, and then it gets put on the ballot and they vote. So there's really no legislature involved in the process. So that's what they did here in Oklahoma. And I'm telling you guys this because we're all from New Mexico, and this is not the process we have. If you're a transplant, and I'm just, you know, babbling on some stuff you already know, just, you know, just skip over the video or something in a couple of minutes. Anyway, so that's what they did. It was a voter initiative. However, the voters struck it down. No, it was like 60% said no, I think is what it was. And that's pretty alarming for the fact that most states these days that do have a ballot, it either passes or it fails very close. And that wasn't even close, like not even a hair close. And so the voters struck it down, and you can give your opinion or whatever you want, but I'm telling you guys, I try to keep unbiased, but my opinion and from my experience of, you know, looking at Oklahoma through the years is that they have a medical program that's kind of unhinged. You know, it's literally the Wild West in Oklahoma. There's no plant counts. There's no limit on licenses, and there's a lot of illegal grows. When I was in Oklahoma, just for the few days I was there, I saw an illegal grow for myself. You know, I was with one of my buddies and went to his cousin's house and just past his little farm that he had. The next one was an illegal farm. And he told us, he's like, yeah, it's a legal farm over there. It's, you know, probably the, you know, the Chinese people, because I guess a bunch of Chinese people moved in and started growing illegally to sell it. And so, you know, that's the belly of the beast. I think it's happened here in New Mexico too a couple of times. And I think that's one reason why the voters said no, is because their medical cannabis program is so out of hand, so much that they're one of the reasons why we didn't run out of cannabis last year when we opened up in April 1st, because, you know, we've had an illegal cannabis issue in our market. They're one of the reasons why, because a lot of their cannabis came here into other states around the nation. They supply a lot of the nation's black market cannabis because there's so much cannabis there. They literally have hundreds of acres of cannabis just growing. And when you go to a manufacturer there, they don't ask you for pounds, they ask you for tons. Dang. And when you put that in that perspective, it just gives you an idea of how much cannabis is really being grown out there, because I don't think people really have an idea or understand how crazy that program really is and how crazy it is. Because in New Mexico, yeah, we don't have a limit on licenses and we have a high plant count, but we have like no water here. Right. So, you know, like we have something that's naturally stopping people from us becoming in Oklahoma is we have no water. Right. Oklahoma, they have so much water, they can just probably give us some. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's really going to happen. I'm just saying they have a lot of freaking water. And one thing I want to also you guys to keep in mind is not every initiative or every bill that is for legalization of cannabis is a good bill for legalization of cannabis. Sometimes these bills have stuff in them that, you know, will hurt the cannabis industry or just make it harder, or, you know, it's just ridiculous. Like at one point here in New Mexico, they wanted us to continue the PPL or personal production license when it went rec, meaning that if you wanted to grow at home, you'd have to apply for it and then wait and then have these crazy restrictions instead of just being able to grow it. Like you can grow tobacco in your backyard, but, you know, cannabis, what the heck? So now that's different. You know, they decided not to go with that bill entirely, and we got something that we like. Maybe that's what's happening in Oklahoma. I mean, what's your thoughts on this? I just wanted to give everybody the idea of what's going on first.
I think that just like we were talking about with the CCD getting, you know, cracking down, I think it's important to have a cannabis control division.
Yeah.
I think that there's, you know, there's pros and cons to having plant count limits. You know what I mean? Because while, you know, if there's no limit on the plant count, then, you know, anybody, whether or not they have a small license or not, they're going to be able to do that. And I think with the way that we've set up, the way that New Mexico has set up the program, the state is able to get a little bit more out of it,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, I think so.
So that's how, from what I see on it, is if you're not as much regulating it, um, I think that there's pros and cons. Like I'm sure, like that the price of everything there is going to be cheaper because of that lack of plant count limit. So that's always good for the consumer and the consumer's eyes, but always, what about the worker? What about the growers? What
Yeah,
about, the whole economy of it,
yeah.
So
And in Oklahoma, they play a volume game. If you get $500 per pound for the plant outdoors and you have hundreds of acres, you're still winning.
right,
Even though you're losing, you're still winning.
right,
Yeah, people are like, oh yeah, it's a 1 pound plant, ha ha ha. Yeah, he's getting $500 for it, but he has hundreds of acres of it, so he's playing the volume game. And
right.
that's what a lot of those guys are doing, is they're playing that huge volume game. And that makes sense. When you do the math, it
Well,
makes
if
sense in the
there's
end.
no plant count limit, I think that also, like, if you then you're going to be incentivized to play volume over
Mhm.
quantity over quality, right?
Exactly.
And so with the 2,000 plant count limit, it gives the small growers a little bit more chance to get those genetics refined, to get better clones, to get better seeds, to that they know that those genetics are going to be really provide
It
good
becomes
bud
more
for
of
them.
a even playing field.
Yeah,
Like Oklahoma, the playing field is crazy.
yeah,
Like it's and it's clicky there. Like New Mexico, we're very clicky, and that could be another reason why some people had issues doing business there and shutting down, because looking at websites, I mean there was literal huge cannabis farms for sale, whole ones. I mean there's a couple here in New Mexico I've seen, but for the most part. Oklahoma, I've seen a lot of farms for sale, just straight
yeah.
up cannabis farms ready to go, because people just didn't know either how to grow, they didn't do it right, they were in over the head, whatever it may be. And it's in every state. So I kind of feel that Oklahoma not passing cannabis was several things that just weighed too much and just added to them saying no.
Yeah.
And I think that the biggest one is that they removed it from the November ballot to yesterday, and the beginning of March, when people just aren't in awareness of it. Because I mean, even if you are a pro cannabis person, you're probably not going to vote in March randomly. Like you're not going to
Yeah,
go out of your way on a random Tuesday to go vote. When you got other stuff going on. You already
well, you're
voted
less
and you're
aware
confused.
of voting happening around those
Exactly.
times.
And I
Yeah.
think they were kind of hoping for that too. Whoever was against cannabis legalizing, I'm not sure who it is in Oklahoma. But this just, it shows you guys what smart legalization is and can be, and if you do it right or wrong. Now, if you do it wrong, you could still make a lot of money in your state, but you create other issues for other states around it. Like here, a lot of that cannabis was coming here, unregulated, untested. Some of it was, black market, from an illegal grow. So we had that issue. And, the other issue that you create is the federal government. The federal government doesn't like when cannabis goes to other states. They kind of hate that.
No.
So that also gives the whole industry a black eye. And don't get me wrong, I love people having access. I love the fact that Oklahoma is like, hell yeah, freedom, let's do this. But it caused a lot of issues, and now the repercussion is that they probably won't have recreational cannabis for about a good 4 or 5 years, because of this. Because they're going to first have to get this medical program in check, and once they get that in check, then I think it's going to take a couple years for them to refine it to kind of figure out where they're going to go on the rec side. So
Yeah.
it was good for them at the beginning, but I kind of feel like it's kicking them in the ass now. They're behind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, an even playing field in terms of licenses. There should be that plant count. That way, everybody is held to that accountability. And I think that the most important thing is a track and trace system.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think that uh, us having that and having the CCD come in and make sure that stuff is in BioTrack or in your POS system that you're using, I think that that's super important, and that keeps everybody accountable. It keeps manufacturers accountable, and everything like that. You know what
True,
I mean? So
and they're paying more attention to it, closely, which is good because that is the seed to sale tracking system, and the state is actually thinking about coming up with their own, which is not alarming, but it tells you the fact that the software that we're using now just isn't cutting it, and there's something wrong with it that even they see needs to change. Will it be better? I have no fucking clue. I hope it is.
yeah, I think you can always just hope for the best.
Yeah, hope for the best, expect for the worst. Yeah. So with that being said, guys, that is it for this week's show. I'm sorry to Oklahoma, you guys didn't pass cannabis, but maybe once that once the medical program gets under check and everything, you guys can try it again. Or who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, and next year they'll have a stellar freaking bill and initiative, and they'll come out and kick ass, and I'll be 100% wrong. I hope I'm wrong, actually. So
everybody was just at home smoking the excess bud that they have, not voting.
yeah, everyone was like just voting. Like, oh, we're supposed to vote today. Shit.
Who cares about voting? Look at our freezer full of bud.
Right. But we already have weed. What do you need? Yeah. Right. So those people with that mindset too. So like I said, guys, that was my opinion, or our opinion on the reason why. I've spoken to some people from Oklahoma, and that's the reason why I came up with some of the things I did, because their concerns kind of reflected what I was thinking. So if you guys are curious about it, Google it. It's on the internet all over the place. I mean, I can't even scroll Instagram without seeing it on High Times. So yeah, that's it for this week's show. Devin, thank you again, brother, for showing up. Thank you for having here. It was a great conversation. Can't wait to have you guys again. And if you guys are in town, check out Empire Cannabis. Yeah. New kids on the block, but hope you guys stick around. Yeah, absolutely.